Hi, I'm Phyllis, southernfrugal.com. Today we're going to make an almond chess pie, and we're going to make the pie crust out using virgin coconut oil. I know, I tried it for the first time a few days ago. I had made a sweet potato pie and I was delighted with the way it turned out. Beautiful. But there are some techniques to this, and one of the things that I used, because I was out of all-purpose flour, I used bread flour because that's all I had. And I think it turned out much better than it would have with just regular all-purpose flour. So let's get started here. So in my bowl, I've got 1½ cups of bread flour, and I'm going to add to that 1/2 cup of virgin coconut oil. Now, the temperature in my kitchen, because I checked it, is exactly 70 degrees. And the coconut oil becomes a liquid at 76 to 78 degrees. So the coconut oil is soft, and that's really kind of the way I want it. Alright, so that's about 1/2 cup there. So while my hands are greasy, I'm going to go ahead and actually grease my pie crust with my pie pan with just a teeny bit of this. Not much, but just a little bit. Because I always want my pie crust to come out of the pan very easily. So anyway, just a very, very thin coat around it. I'm going to use my hands also. Now, to this flour, I'm going to add, hold on, I got to wipe my hands off. I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That's it. Now, I'm going to use my hands in this just because that's the way I do it. So we got the 1/2 cup of coconut oil. Now, in colder weather, this oil is going to be much more thick, heavy. Alright, so if you notice, the coconut oil, I don't know if y'all can see that or not, has these little bitty molecules or particles, and they're little round balls. And that makes it very easy to mix this up with your hands. And that way it's not in big clumps anywhere. Alright, so we're going to do this pretty fast. Actually, I think it works a lot faster using your fingers and hands rather than using one of those pastry cutter things. I actually sent mine to Goodwill because I just almost never used it. Alright, let me move this aside. Now we're ready to use the ice water. And this has actually got a couple of ice cubes in it because you want your water very, very cold. So we're going to start out with 3 tablespoons. Just sprinkle them in. Now it's probably going to take more than 3, but I'm just going to work this around and see how it goes. And what you're doing is just trying to get the dough to come together. So we're going to go ahead and use another tablespoon. So that would be 4 tablespoons in all. Now remember, I'm using bread flour, so that definitely makes a difference. Let's see if it comes together now. We want to just maybe even out another teaspoon or so. Just a little bit more. Actually, I want another little bit. And again, it depends on the flour you're using. Yeah, that'll work right there. Put both hands in there and get it to all come together. Alright, and there we have it. Let me move my flour out of the way in the water. Okay, so now we're ready to roll this out. There's a little oil there. And I use saran wrap. I've got it on my cooktop, and I use that because it's the flattest surface I have, since I have tile on my counters. All right, so we're going to flatten this out as much as we can. And this is a 9-inch pie pan. Just flatten it way out with your fingers. All right, that ought to work right there. All right, wipe my hands off again. By the way, I'm using my little sackcloth towels. They work great for everything. I mean, everything. All right, so now I'm going to put some more saran wrap right over the top of this. Like that. And so that way I have not added any extra flour at all. All right, there we go. Now we're ready to roll this out. Now, with the coconut oil, you don't have to put it in the refrigerator and, you know, let the dough gluten work and all that kind of stuff. You don't have to do any of that. In fact, if you put it in the refrigerator, it's not going to work right. All right, I took the handles off my rolling pin. This is the way my mother used her rolling pin, and I never really understood why. But if I don't have them off, my rolling pin hits the buttons over here. But Mother always had hers like that. And I always thought they just broke off. I didn't realize she had taken them off, or probably had my daddy take them off. All right, so we're going to get this rolled out. Starting in the middle, and just kind of keep rolling it. Yeah, I was so shocked at how delicious this turned out. And I did have another viewer months ago send me an email and tell me I should try it. And I didn't. And then I had another one recently, I think leaving the comments that I should try it. And so while I was at Walmart, and I was going to get the coconut oil, and I was planning to put some in the smoothie, maybe a teaspoon or 2 teaspoons, because I couldn't find any bulk coconut. And so me and her got to talking while we were both standing there, and she had never tried the coconut oil, but she said she heard it was really healthy. And so anyway, I decided, okay, I wanted to make a sweet potato pie anyway, so I said I'm going to give it a try. And it was a real surprise how wonderful it turned out. Okay. Now again, the temperature in my kitchen is exactly 70 degrees, and that's also what the temperature is outside. There's no furnace on or air conditioner or anything like that. All right, so we've got it all rolled out. There's my pie pan, so that's going to work. So I'm going to take the saran wrap off the top of it, and then I'm just going to pick it up. Now, the pie crust is a little difficult to handle because I did not put any extra flour anywhere, just what the recipe called for. So, what I'm going to do is try to get it all up together. There we go, with the saran wrap. Sort of position it right down in the pan, and I try very, very hard to get it in without any air pockets, because we're going to make a chest pie and I don't want to have to prick the bottom of it at all. And also, you do not want to stretch your pie dough, because once you put it in the oven, it'll draw right back up if you do. All right. So I'm just mashing it down in here a little more. All right, now, I like the edge. I like me a good edge, really. So, take my scissors and cut it off, a ½ inch or so from the edge of the pan in order to give myself plenty of edge on that crust. Let's see. In any place I don't have as much, like on that little corner, I'm just going to put a little patch job in there. That'll work. Okay, so now I'm just going to turn that extra over all the way around. And some people just leave it like that, which is a good country crust when you leave it like that. My grandmother used to do that, just turn it under. And my mother used a fork and would mash it down to make sort of a little design. And I like to do the little pinch together with my thumb and forefinger and mash it up a little bit so it's standing up. I'm just taking my fingers and doing them like that. Then making somewhat of a little design. There are all kinds of ways you can do it. And remember, this is a homemade crust, so we want it to look homemade. We don't want it to be so perfect. And then I just mash it up a little bit. Yeah, I like the edge of the crust. That's my favorite. Alright, so now I'm just going to mash it in a little more so it stands up from the pie pan a little bit. Yeah, I was so surprised at how well this crust turned out. I just could hardly believe it. It was just delicious. Now, it will smell like coconut when you're cooking it. But when you're eating it, you're not going to taste any coconut out. That was a little air bubble I was getting out of there. Here's another one. There. All right. There it is. We're ready to fill this now. Make my things a little more standing up. There. Make this one. Yeah, now see, I have worked with this dough with my hands now, and so the coconut oil has melted a little bit in there, but that's fine. Perfect little crust. And that's all we had left over. All right, let me get this out of my area here. Now we're ready to make the filling for this pie. Now I've got my oven preheated actually to 400 degrees to get this started. Now, because the pie pan I'm using is one of those Pro pans, and the stainless steel is a little thicker than a regular pans, I go ahead and put it on my bottom rack, and I started out at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes, and then I turn it down to 350 and cook it for another, I don't know, 30 to 45 minutes, just until the pie is set. All right, so we are ready now to make the filling, and this is very, very easy. It's going to be like a pecan pie, only we are using a cup of almond slices. Now, I'm not going to use any almond flavoring, but I'm going to be using vanilla flavoring. And we're going to need some Karo syrup or light corn syrup. And I'm not sure I have enough in that bottle, so I'm going to use a little bit of this bottle also, probably. Alright, so the first thing we need is 2/3 cup of just regular sugar. So let me get my little measuring cup. Alright, so we need 2/3 of a cup. So this is 1/3 cup measure. So there's 1, 2. All right, we're also going to need 1/3 of a cup of melted butter. Now, the butter's melted, but it's not hot. It's really at room temperature. So we can put that in. And I did it in this cup for a reason. Now I'm going to measure out our corn syrup. And if you put the butter in first, it actually is much easier to get it out. So we need 1 cup of light corn syrup. And sure enough, I don't have enough. I thought that's the way it was going to be. So we're just going to go ahead and use some of the dark, just because we don't have enough to make 1 cup. And it's not going to make much difference in the way it tastes. Alright, so there is 1 cup of corn syrup. Some people use the dark anyway, so. Alright, so let's dump this in. This is my favorite spatula, even though it's burned. Just go ahead and dump that in. Comes out much easier if you put your butter in there first. And to this, we're going to add 3 whole large eggs. And I'm going to use just a touch of salt, not much. That's a little too much. Less than 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to use a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. Right, there we go. So just put it all in together. Now you can use a regular hand mixer for this, or whatever you have. I'm just going to use a whisk because I don't even want to bother getting out my mixer. Alright, so I'm going to mix this up till it's all combined, and we'll be right back. Alright, I ended up getting my my little electric mixer out anyway because it was taking too long to mix that up by hand. Alright, so we've got everything totally combined in there. I'm going to add the 1 cup of almond slices. And just mix those in. Get them all covered with this batter here. Alright, so we're ready to pour this into the pie shell, and we'll be back when all this is done. Okay, the almond chess pie is done now. Crust is nice and brown, and we're going to let this cool, and we'll cut it because we've got to have our lunch first, but we'll cut it and let you see what the crust looks like. We'll be back. Alright, we have finished our lunch, and the pie is still not really cool, but I couldn't wait. We had to go ahead and cut it anyway. There's what it looks like. And I will taste it in front of the camera since several of y'all have requested that I start tasting everything. I'm probably not going to taste everything, but we'll taste this. Look at the crust. Turn it down and get closer. Now the crust doesn't taste like coconut at all. Look at that. Let me let you look at a close-up of the crust. Y'all see that? It's very crispy and flaky and delicious. Trying to get it to focus. My camera. There. Yeah. The crust is really, really nice. Now this pie is very much like I can't get y'all straight. There. It's very much like a pecan pie, only it's got almonds on the top. The crust is delicious. Okay, we will see y'all next time. Bye for now.